The air on Fleet Street was thick with coal smoke and the metallic scent of copper wiring. It was a perpetual dusk even at noon, thanks to the endless churn of the city's steamworks. Below the grinding iron sky, Professor Alistair Finch, disgraced clockwork engineer, maintained a life of quiet anonymity in his third-floor workshop. Alistair's disgrace was simple. He believed in true automatons machines with genuine, complex imitation of life, not just glorified music boxes. The Guild of Licensed Mechanists declared such pursuits dangerous, bordering on the heretical, and promptly revoked his permits 5 years ago. Now he cobbled together unregulated components fueled by strong black coffee and the conviction that his life's work was the future. His current obsession was hidden beneath a velvet cloth in the center of his workshop, the Fleet Street Automaton, an unlicensed mechanical marvel. It was an android, crafted from polished brass and fine mahogany, articulated with thousands of tiny, complex gears. It stood as tall as a man, yet possessed the delicate movements of a natural creature, its internal workings powered by a miniaturized, self-regulating steam core. What made it illegal, however, was its brain, a complex biological mimicking analytical engine that simulated human intuition. One rainy Tuesday, a desperate knock rattled the door, startling Alistair from his work. On his doorstep stood Elias Thorne, a young, nervous reporter from the Evening Chronicle, his tweed suit soaked and his spectacles fogged. "Professor Finch, I apologize for the intrusion, but I need your expertise. It's about the Amulet of Kronos. The Amulet of Kronos." Alistair hadn't heard that name in decades. It was an apocryphal artifact said to regulate the very flow of mechanical time. Alistair stepped back, his hand subconsciously reaching for the brass key that locked the automaton's primary valve. "That is a children's fairy tale, Mr. Thorne. There is no such thing as an artifact that controls time." "But there is, sir," Elias insisted, producing a heavy, brass-bound pocket watch from his coat. "My editor was obsessed with finding it. It vanished 3 nights ago. The watch wasn't ticking. It was chiming, a low, continuous, complex rhythm that spoke of vast and inhuman mechanisms." Alistair took the watch, his hands calloused by years of metalwork, trembling slightly. The chimes were hypnotic, subtly changing the pulse of the surrounding steam pipes. He recognized the signature. The chimes were not marking time, but calculating temporal flux, a concept far beyond modern guild science. "Where did your editor find this?" Alistair asked, his denial crumbling under the cold, intricate reality of the device. "It was found in his office, next to a map of the city. He marked 3 locations, all abandoned power stations." Alistair's mind raced. Abandoned stations meant old, unlicensed tech. They were the perfect places to conduct forbidden temporal experiments. He agreed to help, but only on his terms. No guild interference, and the automaton was strictly off-limits to Elias's curiosity. The first location was the defunct Blackwood pumping station, a crumbling Gothic structure miles from Fleet Street. The inside was a maze of rusted valves and silent pistons, a graveyard of Victorian engineering. As they explored, the brass watch in Elias's hand began to chime louder, faster, almost violently. Alistair examined a section of exposed copper piping. "This isn't rust, Mr. Thorne. This metal has been accelerated." He tapped the pipe. It crumbled to dust, its history fast-forwarded by decades. The amulet was real, and someone was experimenting with the destructive power of temporal acceleration. They followed the loud, insistent chimes to a sealed subterranean vault. Its heavy iron door fused shut. "We need to break the weld," Elias said, pulling a crowbar from his bag. "No," Alistair countered. "The seal is protected by a rhythmic pulse. You must mimic the pulse to neutralize the weld." He carefully connected a series of wires from his portable gear to the vault door's control panel. He adjusted his chronometer to the exact microfrequency of the watch's chime and introduced a counterfrequency. The vault door hissed, and the melted seal dissolved like sugar in tea. Inside the vault was a large spherical device, a temporal battery humming with destructive potential.
Ow.
And standing next to it was a familiar figure, Serafina Clock, Alistair's rival from the guild, now a notorious temporal contrabandist. Serafina was beautiful, draped in green velvet and brass armor, holding a small, glowing device, the amulet itself. It wasn't a piece of jewelry, but a finely woven temporal cage, locking a sphere of pure, shimmering golden light. "Professor Finch," Serafina purred, her voice dripping with silk and betrayal. "I see you brought the bait. She wasn't just holding the amulet. She was regulating it, using it to power the temporal battery." Ilias's editor hadn't vanished. It had been stolen used by Serafina to perfect the battery's core resonance. "The amulet is unstable, Serafina. You'll destroy the entire district," Alastair warned, stepping forward. "I will control the only stable power source, Alastair. Time itself. Low. And the guild will finally bow to me," she declared, aiming the battery's discharge nozzle. Alastair reacted instantly, throwing a small, volatile mixture of steam and phosphorus at Seraphine's feet. The flash blinded her momentarily, but the battery was already charging. "We must neutralize the battery's rhythm," Alastair yelled to Elias, scrambling for his tools. Elias, though terrified, understood the mechanics. He slammed the rhythmic watch onto the control panel of the battery. The conflicting chimes, the amulet's raw rhythm versus the watch's regulated beat, created a temporal feedback loop. The battery shrieked, sparking violently, forcing Serafina to drop the amulet and shield her eyes. Alastair grabbed the amulet. The golden light felt hot and dangerous in his grasp and fled, pulling Elias with him. They burst back onto Fleet Street, the silence of the night now punctuated by the distant, ominous sound of the temporal battery overloading. They needed a secure location, a place with regulated, contained power to absorb the amulet's chaos. "Back to the workshop, Elias. The Automaton," Alastair shouted, running through the gaslit streets. Elias looked terrified. "The illegal machine, but the guild? Forget the guild. The Automaton's analytical engine is the only thing capable of stabilizing a temporal chaos loop." They stumbled back into the workshop, where the brass automaton stood waiting beneath its velvet cloth. Alastair frantically unveiled the machine, revealing its complex clockwork chest cavity. The automaton's heart was a glowing miniature steam core, perfectly regulating its internal tempo. "This machine runs on a rhythm of life, Elias. It must absorb the amulet's rhythm without breaking," Alastair explained, panting. He opened a small maintenance port on the automaton's chest. He carefully inserted the amulet of Chronos into the port, directly next to the machine's self-regulating steam core. The moment the amulet touched the brass, the automaton convulsed violently. Its brass skin grew scalding hot, and its internal gears began to spin at impossible speeds. The conflict was mesmerizing, the chaotic golden light of the amulet fighting against the precise, measured pulse of the automaton. The machine was screaming, a high-pitched metallic whine that strained Alastair's ears. Leah stared, horrified, realizing the truth. The automaton was not just a device. It was a simulation of a living being experiencing agonizing overload. Alastair worked feverishly, adjusting the automaton's core valves, forcing its internal rhythm to slow down to dominate the amulet's chaotic pulse. He had to sacrifice its complex intuition, its soul, to save the city from temporal destruction. He pulled the lever that permanently locked the analytical engine into a purely mechanical, predictable cycle. The automaton shrieked one final time, a sound of profound loss, and then it settled. The golden light of the amulet dimmed instantly, its raw temporal energy now neatly contained and regulated by the machine's forced rigidity. The danger was over. The city was safe, its time flow normalized. But the automaton was different. Its eyes, moments before, filled with an uncanny, thoughtful glint, were now dull, lifeless lenses. The movements were mechanical, stiff, and predictably what the guild preached. Alastair had saved London, but he had killed his masterpiece's potential. Elias, silent for a long time, finally spoke. "Professor, I understand why the guild fears you. They fear not the science, Mr. Thorne," Alastair said, sadly touching the automaton's now cold brass hand. "They fear the life within the machine." Serafina escaped, but her temporal battery exploded minutes later, vaporizing the Blackwood pumping station and ensuring her temporary disappearance. Elias published the story, not about the automaton, but about the heroic engineer who overloaded an experimental reactor. He protected Alastair's secret, knowing the true, profound truth would only lead to execution. The automaton remained in the workshop, an exquisitely crafted doll, now merely a complex clock. Alastair kept the amulet of Chronos locked inside its chest, forever regulating the machine's heartbeat. The amulet was no longer a weapon. It was a memorial to a machine that almost achieved consciousness. Alistair never tried to build another true automaton. The sacrifice was too heavy. He spent his days maintaining the perfect, regulated tick of the Fleet Street automaton. The Guild praised him for his return to sensible engineering, granting him an honorary commendation for stabilizing the energy grid. He accepted the praise with a bitter smile, knowing his honor was built on a mechanical lie. Elias became a celebrated investigative reporter, but he often visited the workshop just to watch the automaton. He claimed he was looking for more secrets, but Alistair knew he was hoping to catch a flicker of the old spark. The mystery of the amulet was solved, but the mystery of life in the machine was permanently shelved. The city continued to grind on, believing its power came from steam and coal. But Alistair knew the truth. London was powered by the perfectly contained, silent, and mechanical heartbeat of a disgraced engineer's dream. He put a hand on the machine's brass shoulder. "You saved us all, old friend. You just couldn't save yourself." The automaton, of course, did not reply. It just ticked. Thank you for watching this story from Storycraft Studio. If you loved exploring the mechanical mysteries of the machine age with us, please like this video, share it with fellow steampunk enthusiasts, and subscribe to Storycraft Studio channel for more fascinating narratives.